Hello everybody, it is Shay Madeline here, and today we will be going through some of the Arcane fan art I made around last Christmas. Now I know that I am a little bit late with this, saying that Arcane Season 2 came out around, when was that, last September? A year ago, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely a little bit late with this video, but I actually made all these drawings right around Arcane Season 2 coming out, because that's when I got into the show. So hopefully there are still some Arcane fans out there that'll take some interest in these drawings. So jumping right into it today, I'm going to show you a study that I did of the Arcane art style, and because it was just a study, I want to be very transparent about this. I did trace an image of Jinx just so that I could practice the painting. I wasn't overly concerned about the line art and whatnot, but I wanted to make sure I had the painting down because I feel like they have a very unique way of coloring and painting their characters. So yeah, very transparent. I did trace, and I also did at some points color samples, so I made sure the colors matched pretty well. And I'm pretty sure that most people consider that to be okay when you're learning, as long as you're transparent about what you're doing, that it is okay to trace just so you can practice. But I really hope you all agree with that, and please let me know if I should have not done that. But I did do that, so I just wanted you all to be aware. As you can see though, it did kind of speed up the process because at this point in the time lapse I am already on the coloring step. And I will say, this drawing, I actually really like how it turned out. Obviously it wasn't a whole lot of work for the tracing, but I feel like I did a really good job at emulating their style with their painting. It looks a little bit choppy for a while there, but once I get to the little bit of blending that has to be done, I feel like it looks much better. And I do think that this study helps me with my future drawings that I do. I think I'll give you all a little bit of a gap break though, and I'll let you just watch the end of this time lapse, and I'll speed it up a little bit too. So this drawing is what I'm going to call almost done. I didn't complete the whole drawing because I didn't feel like that was necessary, especially because I was kind of just copying the drawing on the left. But I wanted to just complete it to the point that I felt comfortable using the Arcane art style, especially because I actually did this study after I did my first drawing attempting to recreate the art style, and I struggled a lot, so that's why I decided to simply practice the painting. So yeah, I'm almost to the point, as you can see, where I call it done. And yep, this is what I have to show for this study. So now we're going to move on to what is my most recent, but also in my opinion the most disappointing of my 3 Arcane drawings that I'm showing in this video. This one I think had a lot of potential and I had a lot of good ideas with it, but I wasn't quite sure how to execute my ideas, and unfortunately that kind of just resulted in something that I feel like it was going the right way and then I kind of messed it up. So as always in my videos, I probably could at some point redraw this and draw it better. I probably won't with this one because I have another Arcane inspired drawing that I really like that I'll show at the end. But I don't know. I am very disappointed with how I ended up finishing up this drawing, and I wish if I could go back I would change the scale of things mostly, which you'll see what I mean later on. As I hope you can tell by now though, this piece is meant to have Echo, Jinx, and Isha as the characters in it. I thought that those 3 would be a very cute grouping to have together, especially with Jinx kind of pointing finger guns at Echo and Isha just copying her, because I feel like Isha tended to kind of copy Jinx when she was in the show, and I thought that was kind of a cute older sister, younger sister vibe. So overall I wanted to give a heartwarming family scene, at least that's how it started. something worth mentioning is that I really, really love the character design for these three characters. I think if you have watched my last video, I also have some League of Legends character art a little bit in that video, and I talk about League a little bit. And obviously League and Arcane, well, maybe not obviously, maybe not all of you know that, but League and Arcane are like go hand in hand. I think they're both owned by Riot, and they're all about the League of Legends universe. And I really like the League of Legends character art and designs, and I also really like the Arcane designs, which I guess makes sense. But I feel like there's so much love and detail that goes into everyone's design. The way that Jinx has long braids makes a lot of sense to me because she's she uses guns, so she snipes a lot, so she doesn't have to do a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and that's why she can have long hair. So like that's something to note. Or like with Isha's design, the way that she has the miner's helmet since she was a child that used to work in the mines, and her clothes are covered in bandages, and I don't know. There's just a lot of thought behind the designs, and I think that's really cool from an artistic standpoint. And it's really fun to draw too, so that's something that's also cool. Now, I don't want this video to get too long, and I feel like it might since I am showing you guys 3 different drawings. So I'm going to actually jump ahead to the point in the drawing where I'm doing all the coloring. So now you can kind of start to see what I had originally planned the drawing to look like in terms of the composition. So Jinx is kind of standing on one of the fan blades that you'll see up in her room if you watched Arcane. And then Isha and Echo are standing on one that's closer to the camera, I guess. And as you can see right now, they're kind of all similarly sized. They do not stay that way. I end up changing the scale of the drawing quite a bit, which is my biggest regret with this drawing. I think it still turns out okay, but it's not. Right now, looking back at this, I really like how it looks in terms of where Isha is and where Echo is and where Jinx is. So I wish I would have kept it as this instead of trying so hard to do like a unique composition style. At this time in my art journey, I was definitely reaching a point where I guess like I was trying to switch up my art still. If you saw my over the garden wall fan art, you know I was like trying to change how my drawings would look really flat. So I was kind of trying to do that with this drawing and like give it some more depth by placing Jinx further back in the background. But I feel like she's such an important character that I don't know why I would have made her be the one that stands so far back. I think at one point it was supposed to be her kind of like sneaking up on Echo and like Isha was distracting him. But I don't think it really comes across in my art because even me, like as the artist looking back a year later, I'm like, oh, why did I draw her so far away? Clearly she's meant to be a big part of the drawing. So I guess that's why sometimes it might be helpful to have somebody else look at your art and ask you those kind of questions that you would end up asking yourself a year later as someone who like doesn't remember the exact thought process you're going through. Because look at her now, she's so small and she's so far away after I just spent all that time on her line art just for her to be shrunk. So I wish, because I did put so much time and I feel like she turned out really good in terms of line art and whatnot, I wish I would have kept her closer to the front because I think she's actually the best drawn of the 3. I think Echo I struggled with partially just because I struggle to draw men and I struggle to draw people with muscles and he has muscles. So like having him in the foreground wasn't exactly the best decision. And Isha is she is a girl, but I feel like she has kind of androgynous characteristics. And I feel like that made her a little bit difficult to draw too, to the point that she looks kind of scary after I colored her in. Um, her face is a little bit too much of a gremlin, which is funny and cute. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. And of course, that's not to say that I don't like this drawing and I completely regret it. I definitely learned a lot. I feel like the background is interesting, kind of a different art style than what I normally do, to kind of match like Jinx's aesthetic. And I feel like the blending work that I did, I used a different brush in Procreate. I feel like that was a lot of learning. So obviously it was a pretty useful piece for me, and there's nothing wrong with artists trying to stretch proportions and try to stretch their art to like be something different. So that of course is good too. And I think it finishes fine because I think the lighting kind of saves it. But yeah, I did want to share my thoughts on some of the regrets that I had because I feel like if I were to redraw this, I would just do it kind of differently. But I have been yapping for a long time, so I'm going to jump to the end of this drawing since we're already almost 10 minutes into this video, and then we'll move on to our next drawing. So this is where I ended up leaving it. It is a very dark drawing now that I'm looking at it again, but I kind of tend to do that. I don't know if you all see like a lot of my art, or if most people that watch my channel just tend to see like a piece and then they kind of go do other things on YouTube. But a lot of my art, for whatever reason, ends up being really dark. I feel like my iPad kind of washes out the colors and makes it maybe even like, I don't know, I think it just shows me the art differently on my iPad than what shows up on the computer screen. And sometimes that causes issues, I think, with the lighting a little bit, but I just tend to lean towards those darker aesthetics, it seems like, because I really like playing around with lighting, especially since I am still learning. So I guess that's partially just me still playing around with my art style a little bit. So now it's finally time to move on to what is actually my first piece of Arcane fan art that I drew, but also my favorite. But I think the reason why it is my favorite is that I spent so much time on this drawing because I was struggling a lot to get it to a point where I wanted it. I struggled a lot with the line art to begin with, as you can tell, and you will see. The face was a struggle for me, but I didn't want to give up, so I kept trying. And then I also struggled a lot with the painting, which is why I later went back and I did that arcane study that you'll see, that you saw earlier in the video. But you will see it took me, I think, 4, if not 5 different tries to like color in her face because I was very much struggling pretty hard. And then when I finally get it, it kind of clicks. I definitely don't hit the arcane art style, but I kind of have a style that's a little bit unique to myself in this drawing, and I really like how it looks. And I've considered actually printing out this drawing and like framing it in my room. I haven't done that, but I think it would be a cool idea for something to do. But yeah, I really hope you like this drawing because I really like this drawing, and I think I poured probably 20 hours into it just because of how long it took me to redraw the skin in the face like 4 or 5 times, which it is very ugly for a very long time because of that. So yeah, hopefully you guys can look past that and get to the end because I think in the end that is really good. I definitely had to put a lot of work to get it to that point. Although right now, like the line art looks okay looking back at it, but I do think the improvement is still very drastic and very worth it. But I will once again take a little bit of a yap break and let you guys just watch the end. And there is the finished drawing. I don't know if you guys like it as much as I do, but I really like it, so I hope you liked it too, as well as the rest of my drawings in the process. But that is all I have for you today, so I will see you next time. Goodbye!